My name is Stefan Rodic and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the City of Stirling, and I'd like to welcome you to the 2023-2024 City of Stirling Electors General Meeting. The Electors General Meeting is an opportunity for electors to consider the City's 2023-2024 Annual Report, as well as deal with any general business. Council accepted the annual report of the City of Stirling for the year 2023-2024 at the ordinary meeting of Council held on Tuesday, the 4th of February 2025. The annual report includes the annual financial statements and the Auditor's report. I will now like to hand over to His Worship, the Mayor Mark Irwin, who is presiding over this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Stev. And on behalf of all elected members, I'd like to welcome you this evening and thank you for coming along, and to those who are watching the meeting via the live stream, welcome as well. It's great to see so many people here and interested in what's happening in their community. Remember, this meeting is also being recorded and live streamed. Now, before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I'd like to acknowledge the attendance of the councillors in ward order. From Balga Ward, we have Councillor Andrea Corrado and Councillor Michael Dudek. Coastal Ward, Councillor Tony Kristovich and Councillor Rob Papard. Double View Ward, Councillor Stephanie Proud and Councillor Elizabeth Ree. Hammersley Ward, Councillor Chris Hatton and Councillor Carlo Perkoff. Inglewood Ward, Councillor David Lagan and Councillor Damien Judici. From Lawley Ward, Councillor Joe Ferranti and Deputy Mayor Suzanne Migdale. And from the Osborne Ward, Councillor Teresa Olo and Councillor Lisa Thornton. Finally, I'd like to acknowledge the attendance of the City's Chief Executive Officer, who's just introduced myself, and the executive team, as well as Tim Sanya from the Office of the Auditor General and Fiona Drummond from Ernst & Young, who will be providing assistance with the report later on, and to all those other City officers who are in attendance to assist tonight. The order of business for tonight's meeting is on the screen behind me and included in the agenda, copies of which have been placed on your seats. There are no councillors on leave of absence and there are no apologies for this evening. On behalf of Council, I am pleased to present the City's annual report for 2023 to 2024. The annual report is a key document that reports on the progress of the City's Strategic Community Plan, Sustainable Stirling, and the corporate business plan that support our vision to be a sustainable city with a local focus. It's more than just a statutory document, it's a story of the City's progress over the past financial year, showcasing highlights and our challenges, providing a transparent account of our performance as a high-achieving local government. We started the year in July 23 with a fresh approach to community engagement called Locally Led Stirling, encouraging residents to be involved in shaping what it means to be a local. Through local convos hosted in every suburb, we gathered over 3,392 community ideas and refined them into 185 local focused priorities. And these priorities will guide our planning and reporting process in the coming years. The first edition of our ward news brochures was sent out, delivering local news, events and updates to residents across all 7 wards. We also continue to engage with residents through our Stirling Scene e-newsletter and other online platforms. We made significant progress on major projects, including the redevelopment of Stirling Leisure, Hammersley Public Golf Course, and the Stirling Leisure Inglewood Outdoor Pool. These projects have been a major success, providing state-of-the-art facilities that are now open for everyone in the community to enjoy. With 155 community and sporting clubs using 59 active reserves and playing 28 different sporting codes across the city, we invested in infrastructure to support these clubs, with floodlighting upgrades at Millington Reserve in Karrinyup, new basketball courts in Mirrabooka and refurbished club rooms in Balga. The City's recreation facilities recorded the highest ever number of visits, with over 3 million patrons across the year. The City's 6 libraries were also busy, with almost 600,000 visitors, generating 1.44 million loans of physical books and e-resources. Our commitment to sustainability remains strong, thanks to initiatives like installing solar panels at our administration centre and introducing electric and hybrid vehicles into our fleet. Additionally, we planted almost 65,000 trees and shrubs and gave away 26,600 trees and water-wise plants to residents. The 2023 local government election saw voter turnout of 27.3%, and the city was the only local government to declare a result for the mayoral election on election night. And of course, I was honoured to be re-elected, and we welcomed 2 new councillors that night as well. In January 2024, the city's new CEO, Stephen Roddick, commenced following the term of Stuart Jardine after 16 years. Since then, Stev's focus has been set on supporting our employees and embedding a customer-centric approach by ensuring the city's values: approachable, responsive, transparent and innovative are front of mind when serving our ratepayers and our community. And he's doing a good job too, by the way. Great job. Despite our successes, we face some challenges. Improving public safety remains the #1 priority for our community. To support this, we expanded our Safer Suburbs program, providing 650 rebates, totalling $270,000 to help residents secure their homes. We also launched community safety trials, grew the CCTV network, and maintained a strong relationship with the West Australian Police Force. Economic uncertainty and cost of living pressures continue to impact our community. We adopted a moderate rate rise of 3.24%, one of the lowest in the metropolitan area, to help ease the financial burden on residents. We experienced delays in some of our projects, and coupled with supply chain issues, the need to rescope projects to meet budget constraints also posed some challenges for us. Our achievements this year are a testament to the hard work and dedication of staff and community members. We received our 10th consecutive Gold Award for the annual report at the 2024 Australasian Reporting Awards, earning the city an induction into the Chair's Commendations Honour Roll. Our annual report was also named Best in the Local Government Sector in Australasia for the 2nd year running. Our West Australian Tree Festival was named the Community-Based Initiative of the Year at the 24 Parks and Leisure Australia WA Awards of Excellence. At the same event, we won the Strategic and Master Planning Award of Excellence for the Community Infrastructure Plan 23 to 33. The city was also presented with 3 awards at the 23 Planning Institute of Australia State Awards for Planning Excellence, recognising exemplary practice across various planning disciplines. The city conducted the first ever trackless tram trial in Australia in November 23, seeing a fully operational tram make its way from China to Stirling for demonstration. The events included a Net Zero Symposium and a Community Open Day with over 1,200 residents, visitors and transport experts jumping on board to be part of the trial. The city received the 24 national awards for local government for the trial, with the CEO accepting the award from the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese. We continue to support our local economy, arts and events. We invested $495,000 in event sponsorships in 23-24 and hosted 414 events across our local suburbs, attracting over 620,000 visitors. We launched our new community grants program and distributed almost $1 million to the community in 23-24, supporting initiatives such as the Scarborough Sunset Markets, the Stirling's Farmer Market and Inglewood Night Markets, Riding for the Disabled Association Careen, Friends of Trig Bushland and Perth Rhinos Basketball. Our unwavering commitment to enhancing the quality of life for our residents remains our top priority, and I'm immensely proud of all we have accomplished together. The City of Stirling has made remarkable strides in service delivery, community engagement and infrastructure development throughout 23-24 to deliver a vibrant, safe and sustainable community. I'm excited to continue our journey and deliver our vision to be a sustainable city with a local focus. I will now hand you over to Ms Ingrid Hawkins, Director of Corporate Services, for the annual report and financial statements.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Good evening, everyone. It's really lovely to see you all here. I have a very short presentation tonight on the City's annual financial statements for the year ended 30th of June 2024. As you've just heard, the City delivered a very wide range of services, projects and programmes throughout the year, and you'll see a little bit more in our highlights reel in a bit. We were able to do that while we increased our reserves to help us continue to fund major projects into the future. And really that's building on our already solid financial position. So in terms of I guess, the City's overall position, we do have a balanced bottom line in 23-24, with total revenue of 304 million, expenditure of 356 million, with 4 million transferred to our reserves, and the remaining amount within our opening balances and also including our carry forward projects mainly for our capital. In terms of our operating revenue, as was the case in 22-23, 77% of our revenue is generated through our general rates, our security and our waste charges. The other main contributors are federal and state grants, along with the fees and charges that the city raises for our leisure and aquatic facilities and also our commercial lease revenue. In terms of operating expenditure, 38% of our operating expenditure is related to employee costs and 35% for running costs. And that includes things like maintenance for our buildings, roads, footpaths and reserves, along with the cost of providing our waste services, which is around $40 million. The other main cost in there, as you'll see on the graph, is depreciation, which is associated with our large asset base that we hold at the city. With regards to our capital, we spent over $72 million on capital items in 23-24, with roads, drainage and footpaths accounting for 32% of that spend, land and buildings 33%, vehicles 18%, and reserves and lighting 12%, and similar to what you would have seen in 22-23. And just to finish, I just wanted to share an illustration which you will find in the annual report, which gives you an indication of how each $100 is spent at the city. And we're always looking at ways to improve the information that we provide, so we'll continue to do that through the next year's annual report. I would now like to hand over to Tim Sanya from the Office of the Auditor General, who will now brief the meeting on the Independent Auditor's Report opinion for the year ended 30th of June 2024. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I've got the privilege to represent the Auditor General in terms of presenting our audit report. The audit of the financial reports of the City of Stirling was conducted by Ernst & Young, who also provided the same audit last year. That's on our behalf. And this audit was conducted in accordance with Australian auditing standards. So that's the framework that is applied across all audit of the financial statements. Having noted no significant issues on the audit, the Auditor General's report was issued on the 17th of December, 2024, and contained an unmodified audit opinion, which in layman's terms, that would be a clean opinion with no issues being noted. As stated in that audit report, the Auditor General's opinion confirms three aspects on the financial report, which is fairly, first of all, to state that the annual financial report based on our audit was based on proper accounts and records. It fairly represents in all material respects the results and operations of the city for the year ended 30 June 2024, as well as its financial position as at that date. And lastly, but not least, in accordance with the Local Government Act, and to the extent that they are not inconsistent with the Act, the financial statements were in compliance with the Australian accounting standards. So in summary, that's the audit reports from the Auditor General. As I said, no significant issues were noted, and the audit report itself is included in the annual report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hawkins, and thank you, Mr. Sanya. I will now play a presentation highlighting the city's achievements for the 23-2024 financial year, full details of which are contained within the City of Stirling's 23-2024 annual report.
City of Stirling karit nyunga muot nyunga buja waja buja nalat karit nyunga nedinga we bridia kura we yay balaban kundam maling we nakalak balap yang ngaling nalat dan ju ba we karit baran buja.
The City of Stirling is home to over 243,000 residents, making it Western Australia's largest local government by population. The city is dedicated to delivering efficient, responsive and sustainable services that meet the current and future needs of our growing diverse community. In 2023-24, we celebrated achievements across the fields of innovation, planning, leisure, sustainability and reporting. And we're excited to share some of our achievements with you. The City of Stirling has a rich history of working closely with its community to keep people active and healthy, strengthen connections and ensure a sense of belonging and safety. Over 2,700 community members attended the city's flagship NAIDOC event in Mirrabooka. Stage 2 of Jackadder Lake Reserve Playground was completed and the Dianella BMX and mountain bike facility was completed in time for the summer school holidays. Our Local Combos series are helping to bring the community together to chat about local needs, deepen connection and identify local priorities. The city's recreation facilities had record visitation with over 3 million patrons across the year. And with community safety as our residents' number one priority, the city grew its CCTV program and continued operating year-round patrols, working closely with the WA Police to support safer neighbourhoods. The city strives to build vibrancy and prosperity by supporting over 23,000 local businesses that contribute to an impressive gross regional product of $19.3 billion. In November 2023, the city delivered Australia's first trackless tram trial. The highlight of the trial was the Community Showcase, where more than 1,300 people jumped on board to experience this innovative technology firsthand, providing overwhelming support to drive this project forward. In 2023-24, the city hosted 414 events, attracting over 600,000 visitors to our neighbourhoods. The city also sponsored 9 high-profile events, including the Australian First ICF Ocean Canoe World Championships, NBL 3x3 Hustle Championships and Slam Festival. To create unique and livable neighbourhoods, the city works diligently to maintain and upgrade community infrastructure and facilities across its suburbs. We hit milestones on exciting projects, including starting construction on Hammersley Public Golf Course redevelopment. This year, new basketball courts were installed at Stirling Leisure Mirrabooka. And work continues on the redevelopment of Stirling Leisure Inglewood, which will boast the largest public outdoor lap pool in the Southern Hemisphere. And as part of our road renewal program, the city invested more than $10 million and together with $2.3 million from the state and federal government, delivered upgrades to significant road sections to maintain the service life of our roads. The city's commitment to a sustainable future continued in 2023-24, progressing a number of initiatives as part of its Sustainable Energy Action Plan. 330 kilowatts of solar photovoltaic panels were installed at the city's administration centre, reducing operational greenhouse gas emissions by 4.7% and costs by $170,000 annually. The city was awarded the Parks and Leisure Australia WA Community-Based Initiative of the Year Award for the 2023 WA Tree Festival. Once again, the city achieved gold status in the annual Waterwise Council's accreditation and was the highest performing local government in Western Australia for the collection and recycling of mobile phones and their accessories. 37 electric vehicles were procured and 32 electrical vehicle chargers were installed across city venues. The city remains committed to being recognised as a leading local government, ensuring it responds to the needs of our growing community. The city's new Community Grants program saw $1 million distributed to the community across 5 streams for activities that aligned with the priorities in Sustainable Stirling 2022 to 2032. Our annual report 2022-23 was crowned Best in Sector and won our 10th consecutive gold at the Australasian Reporting Awards. The 2023 local government election saw voter turnout of 27.3%. Our customer experience team served over 190,000 customers this year via front counter, phone, direct online inquiries and web chats. Our community is at the core of everything we do, and we're accountable to residents, businesses and stakeholders who work to ensure our city remains vibrant and prosperous. The city is proud of its community satisfaction rating of 92%, which reflects the dedication and hard work of the Mayor, councillors, Chief Executive Officer, executive team, employees and volunteers. We look forward to continuing to deliver a high standard of services and programs for our community and create a bright future for everyone that lives, works and visits in the City of Stirling, the City of Choice.
We will now proceed to the 23-24 annual report and financial statements. So there's probably a lot of people in the gallery right now wondering, they probably got asked to come here to get a verge tree or to do something in their local neighbourhood, and you're thinking, I didn't realise I was going to have to sit through all this part, but unfortunately you do. So statutory requirements. I want to just make it clear, there's plenty of opportunity for questions and motions, as some of you may be expecting to do. But questions that are not related to the annual report and financial statements will be dealt with afterwards in the general business. So this part of it will be questions relating specifically to the annual report, so we can move that formal part of the meeting out of the way. So we've got a great example here because Reece Barrett has already pre-registered and said that he's got a question relating to the annual report and sustainability. So I'll ask you to come forward to start us off. And this is your, hopefully you're here. Yes. And we'll get you to start us off. And if you press that button on the bottom of the microphone, on the silver button on the bottom right, and that's the only time anyone has to touch it tonight. Okay?
Right.
Now, and if you just start with your name and your suburb, and then your questions relating to the annual report, sir.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Reece Barrett from Karrinyup, and my first question relates to the urban forest strategy component of the annual report. The annual report says that the urban forest strategy aims to increase tree retention, planting and canopy maximisation, and is reported to be, quote, progressing according to schedule and achieved anticipated milestones. So the three parts to my question. How does Council reach this conclusion when it is recorded on pages 181 and 182 that the strategy is not on track to achieve the comparatively modest canopy target of 18% by 2040, currently a target deficit of 30,600 mature trees, and that nearly 2.8 million square metres of significant canopy has been lost since 2012?
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Murphy.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks for the question. The city did meet its goals for tree planting on city-managed land. There is a nuance about trees that we plant on our land and trees that are not on our land, because we have less ability to control tree canopy on state and privately managed land. So the majority of canopy loss you refer to is from private land, and the gains on city land is what we focused on as part of the report.
Thank you. And you've got another question?
Yeah, there's two other parts related to the urban forest strategy. How does Council plan to address the reported current trend, albeit on private land, that some suburbs could lose about 50% of existing canopy in the next 10 years?
Thank you. Mr. Murphy.
Through you again, Mr. Mayor. So for clarification, that prediction is based about some suburbs losing significant canopy. It's about referring to private properties and residential land, not city land. And we expect that canopy cover will increase on city managed land and on all suburbs over the next 10 years.
Thank you. And why doesn't the annual report include any commentary on the significant risk to the urban forest strategy posed by the polyphagous shot-hole borer?
Thank you. Mr. Murphy.
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor. So we are very aware of the risks around polyphagous shot-hole borer. The reason why it's not in the annual report 23-24 is it had no significant impact last year, but you'll find that next year's or this year's annual report will have commentary on that because there is an impact that we're finding right now.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you. If you'd leave that on. Yep, thank you. Thank you, Mr Barrett. If you'd like to raise your hand if you have a question relating to the annual report. Yes, Ms Jack, if you'd like to come forward. Thank you. Just your name and suburb. You know the drill. And it's already on, so just, yep.
Good evening, Mayor and councillors, members of the gallery. I have a problem with the annual report for a couple of reasons. Primarily, the outrageous greenwashing. Greenwashing is trying to make an organisation seem more green and sustainable than it really is. It's a form of misleading and deceptive conduct, fraud, okay? It's illegal for businesses. Is that a little smile? I said, Mr Mayor?
It might have been a smirk.
Yeah.
Well, it's fairly serious allegations, Ms Jack.
And I'm more than happy to make them. If you'd like me to just, may I please go ahead?
We have the State's Auditor General here who...
Yes, thank you. And they know from Treasury that greenwashing is not allowed anymore. I happen to know that. So coming up with a title like the Million Trees Initiative, which I've been telling you for years, you did stop for a while, but it started again a few years ago, is misleading. Titles, you're not allowed to use titles that are misleading and then hide the information in the document or fine print. As that gentleman pointed out, the canopy is in, yes, you're talking about planting trees, but you're not looking after trees properly and you're not going to the state government and really lobbying them to do something about tree protection laws like local governments in the eastern states. And, you know, one has to wonder what, I
will ask you to get back on track for the annual report, though.
Yes.
Because you're talking about lobbying state government on another issue.
So the annual report is full of greenwashing, okay? Yes. When will the City of Stirling change that title of that tree program and stop greenwashing?
Thank you. The City does not greenwash. Mr Murphy?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I think the question refers to the Million Trees Initiative, which is what we used to call...
In general, I haven't got time
Thanks,
to...
just let's get the answer
everything
out.
You do.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. So definitely in the past, the Million Trees Initiative was the title of that initiative, and it has been changed to Million Trees and Shrubs. So if that's, I'm sure that's what's in the annual report without referring to any pages. So I think that's something that's already been changed. As you quite rightly described, it's for the reasons of honesty. It's not just trees.
Million trees and shrubs, yes. So my second question about the annual report relates to safety, which should be the most important thing this council is concerned about. Safety, the word safety is mentioned 159 times in relation to crime and roads. A couple of things to do with work safety, etc. But heat is only mentioned 3 times. And as I've been saying to this council over many years, heat is not recorded on death certificates in Australia. And I've been pointing out to you that the scientists at ANU are saying...
I'm going to ask you to get to a question relating to the annual report. We've got
when
a gallery,
will
hundreds
the
of
City
people
of
here.
Stirling recognise how dangerous heat is and really do something about reducing urban temperatures, mitigating against urban temperatures and taking the urban tree canopy seriously to reduce temperatures and deaths?
Thank you for that question. And the City does take urban canopy and our targets very seriously. And they are quite often an item of this council agenda as we discuss those in a very transparent manner with the community.
Again, that's misleading in the way you've worded it. Sorry, but I'm more than happy to go on the record saying that, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome to.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions relating to the annual report? Yes, please come forward, sir. Just your name and suburb and then your questions.
Okay, Tim Diamond of Yokine. Thank you very much, Mr Mayor, councillors and ratepayers. Now, the city's annual report, 2023-24, talks about respecting the traditions of the Whadjuk and Noongar peoples as custodians of the land. This meeting started off with a very similar declaration. And yet the council is proceeding with designing a boardwalk that would require the clearing and disturbance of native vegetation and the digging of hundreds of holes for footings and sandhills upon which the very same Indigenous people walked, foraged, hunted and fished before Europeans came. The council, without any reported consultation with local Indigenous people or research into the heritage values of this significant remnant coastal reserve in South Trigg Beach, has allocated $500,000 to design a boardwalk through the sandhills. So why has the council not instructed the city to engage with the Whadjuk Noongar people, as it says in your annual report, and with qualified culturally appropriate anthropologists to thoroughly survey the pre-European history and occupation of that remnant coastal reserve in South Trigg before proceeding with planning for this boardwalk?
Appreciate that question. Look, and not to minimise it, we are getting off the topic. This is a 23-24 annual report. I will get some commentary on our involvement with our RAP working group and our Indigenous elders, but consultation certainly isn't over with this piece of work. Mr Quirk.
Thank you, through you, Mr Mayor. Thank you for the question, Mr Diamond. I won't speak specifically about the boardwalk, but what I can reaffirm is the city has a really strong relationship with our Whadjuk Noongar elders. We have a reconciliation action plan working group. We engage with them on all of our major projects, and I have no doubt the boardwalk will include extensive consultation with the traditional owners also.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And this is going to be a really long night if we have to have long claps after every person. So this is the annual report. Is there any other questions relating to the annual report? I can't see any indication. So there is one. Sorry, just Mr Barrett, have you got another question?
Yeah, I put in 3. I didn't realise. Okay, this is also related to the annual report, the waste management strategy. The report records the council's waste management strategy falls well short of several key targets: diverting municipal waste from landfill, diverting commercial and industrial waste from landfill, achieving 70% material recovery by 2025, and achieving 20% reduction per capita waste generation by 2030. How does council plan to respond? And why was a proposal for FOGO, Food Organics, Garden Organics implementation, not supported by council, despite it being successfully implemented in other council areas and its potential to significantly contribute to waste management targets?
Thank you. Mr Murphy.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Thanks for the question. So there's 2 parts to the question. The first is about how the city's responding. The city's very active, along with its partners in Mindarie Regional Council, in looking at alternative waste treatment options. I think we accept that we're very reliant on landfill. We're looking for options that will remove that reliance and allow us to divert and recover more waste, which is how we would achieve the target. So there's extensive work going on in that area. Now, some of this activity is not public because there is some commercial confidentiality required, but I can assure you that work is going on. On the other side of things, we do have a good 3-bin system and recycling centre, Balcata, which recovers and recycles lots of waste. So we're working hard on the current system to optimise that, and that's ostensibly through a big education programme that we have. So that's the first part of the question. The second question about FOGO, and you rightly referred to a previous council report where council made the decision not to introduce FOGO, but I'll be clear that the decision was made not to introduce FOGO service at that time. So the city's keeping a close eye on developments in all strategic waste matters, and that includes the introduction of a future FOGO service at some point on the future. So we'll keep that situation under review, and that could happen in the future.
Thank
Is
you.
it possible to clarify why it was decided not to implement it at this time?
I can probably cover off on that from a council point of view. That one of the things we hear often is, why don't we do it because it's a state government mandate or because there's other councils that do it? I think it's important to look at things like waste. It's that interaction that everyone in this gallery has with the City of Stirling on a weekly basis, hundreds of thousands of lifts a week of your waste. The city is currently looking at all its waste streams, and with the change from landfill sites going into waste to energy, to implement FOGO across a population equivalent to the Northern Territory is an extreme risk to this city. Those other councils quite often maybe have 2,000 residents in them, so it's not that hard to divert. It means for the city to go to a FOGO stream at the same time, significant cost implications for ratepayers, where you would see your waste levy probably doubled. Quite possibly, there's a huge risk. There's also the problem with red bins. We would then have to change everyone's collection services, so your red bins only get collected every second week, and distribute green bins to the 30,000 odd mixed dwellings or the shared dwellings that don't already have green bins. So there's just many things to be considered. So it's just at this time, the city wasn't comfortable enough, or the council wasn't comfortable enough, that the FOGO could be implemented in a risk-free approach that wouldn't significantly financially impact ratepayers, and that there's an end use for that volume of food organics to go into the system.
Yep. Thank you. I did also submit another question on climate emergency. Can I ask that now? It's related to the annual report.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. The annual report refers to several trends that verify predictions of international climate scientists in the IPCC and our own CSIRO, and confirm that we're not using resources in a manner that will enable future generations to meet their needs, the commonly accepted definition of sustainability. It mentions rapid and significant decline in precipitation over southwest Australia, and including this area, significant increase in the use of groundwater and extended periods of heat waves and drought leading to depletion and salinisation of a finite resource, rapid sustained increase in temperature and increasing number of heat waves and violent storms, and also increasing erosion of coastal areas through stormwater surge and rising sea levels. In order to raise public awareness of the rapidly closing window for limiting the extent of global warming, will Council consider joining 11 other WA local government jurisdictions in declaring a climate emergency? That's the first part. Shall I go on to the other two parts?
Yeah, maybe. And if you could summarise, sorry, just in the interest of obviously a lot of it. Yep.
Has Council joined 40 other local government jurisdictions in signing the WALGA, W-A-L-G-A, Climate Change Declaration? If no, why not? And why has Council decided not to join a nationwide alliance of 43 LGAs that have formed the Climate Emergency Australia?
Thank you. And Council did consider it. There was actually an e-petition, I believe, back in about 2020. It was an item that came to Council. To be blunt, this Council has always had the approach not to declare climate emergencies or anything that can be seen, without being disrespectful to those who do it, as virtue signalling without actually backing it up with any plan. This Council has ensured that it has a sustainability energy action plan and follows through with its commitments. And it does work closely with WALGA and has things like the Cities Alliance for power partnerships and other alliances. But it's steered clear. It has traditionally steered clear from declaring emergencies or declaring any of those sort of things, joining with other councils to write letters to a federal parliament.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for those questions. Oh, there's more? Ms. Jack.
Okay, one more question regarding the annual report that I really have a problem with. This boardwalk, all of the research regarding tourism...
I'll ask you to do this afterwards. It's not relating to the annual report. This is a
It's in the annual report.
It's a 23-24 annual report.
Yes, it's in there. Did you know that?
What's in there?
That it's basically pointing to the fact that it will be good for tourism. So I just look it up, just search.
So we can do this afterwards, Ms Jack.
But I have a problem with the.
You will have a chance later.
All right.
But we can't run this meeting with people just coming up with ideas through the meeting. Please think through your questions and have them ready to go, because we're not going to have everyone come up after every second person having a debate. It'll go feral. Please, we've got a couple of hundred of you. Noted. Are there any questions relating to the financial statements? Mr Mitchell.
I've got a few others to ask tonight, but...
That's all right.
Thanks, Tony. Robert Mitchell, Karrinyup. This is supplementary to the two motions I've got. In relation to the annual financial statement, this year the council took it upon themselves, not as a council, I believe, as a committee, to commit $350,000 for Christmas lights in the 7 wards. And I haven't seen a thing about it anywhere. And is this type of throwaway of money going to continue?
There's no current decision. That normally goes through a budget process, Mr Mitchell. Moving into this year's budget, council will decide if Christmas lights are warranted. There was a fair bit of publicity, and we can certainly share some links with you if you want to see some of the pictures of the Christmas lights. But it was.
Well, I did mention, Mayor, that it wasn't the council that decided it; it was a committee.
No, it was. Is this council through a budget process, Mr Mitchell?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Looking, I can't see any. All right, so now we'll move on to the motion to adopt. Each elector who is present tonight is entitled to vote, one vote, on each motion put forward at this meeting, but you do not have to vote. It's up to you entirely if you wish to vote. The City has prepared a draft motion to accept the annual report and financial statement as follows, and that is on the board behind me, that the 23-24 City of Stirling annual report incorporating the 23-24 annual financial statements and the 23-24 auditors report be accepted. What I will ask is if you wish to move this motion or second this motion, that you raise your hand, and then if I point to you, please stand up and say your name out loudly, and then we can record that. I will get a seconder for the motion, and then I will put it to the vote. Is there a mover for this motion, please? Just nice and easy up the front here, sir. Bradley Maguire. Thank you. Bradley Maguire, Inglewood. And is there a seconder for this motion? Oh, there's a shy group. I didn't think we'd have a shy group. Just over here as well. Thank you. There is a motion on the table to accept the annual reports. Could I please have a show of hands? Just raise your card if you're in favour of that motion. Thank you. And if you're opposed, raise your hands with your, yep, and you should have a card, hopefully. If you haven't, we'll get you one. Or we run out, we might have run out. That's all right, I can still see your hand. That motion is carried. Thank you. I now declare the meeting open for general business. Should an attendee move a motion, a seconder will be required. These motions will be included in the EGM minutes. Any motions that are carried will also be included in the agenda for consideration at a council meeting to be held on Tuesday, the 13th of May 25. Additionally, a councillor may choose to raise a notice of motion or otherwise to act on a motion that an elector has raised tonight. For those wishing to address a meeting, please raise your hand and I'll call you forward to speak one at a time. When you are called, please make your way to the microphone and commence by stating your name and suburb, as you have seen previously. We will make every endeavour to answer your questions this evening. However, many of your questions we may not have the expertise or the staff in the room. Obviously, we'll endeavour to do it, but if not, we will take it on notice, and a more detailed response will be provided to you in writing and form part of those minutes of this meeting. Now, we have received some questions and motions in advance for tonight's meeting. Just to be clear, as we go through tonight, I will start. We have people who just wish to ask questions and people who wish to move motions. I'm aware there may be a large percentage of the meeting who don't want to stay and maybe listen to the whole meeting. I propose that we go through the motions first, because that will give some, I'm sure that the people who wish to put a motion forward probably have a preamble of some sort, and it may provide some context to any of those questions that you may wish to raise. So what I will ask is that if you come forward to move a motion, please keep your preamble to maybe 3 minutes or so, as succinct as possible. Otherwise, we could be here till 2 in the morning, which, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. But I ask you to keep it succinct. It doesn't need to be a 10-minute preamble. 3 minutes. I will then ask you to read clearly your motion. I will then ask for a seconder, and we'll put it to the vote. We'll follow the same process as we just did. If it becomes something that is very line ball, then we will probably have to re-vote, and I'll ask you possibly to stand up, and we'll get governance to come around and actually do a manual count, because there's no way I'm going to be able to count all of you from up here accurately, I wouldn't think. Are we happy with that? All right, my first sheet. What a way to start. Robin Murphy, you're up the top.
Robin Murphy from Karrinyup, and I'm the convener of the Friends of Trig Beach. Good evening, Mr Mayor, councillors and other ratepayers. Mr Mayor, just taking on board your statement about how we should present the motions, I was going to move the motion and then speak to it, but it seems...
sorry, no, that's quite all right as well.
That's okay as well? Yeah. Okay, well, I'll do it that way.
Yeah, and you're welcome, if you've got a question that may lead into something you're about to say, you're welcome to ask that prior to it if it helps. But
no, I'm not asking a question. I'm just moving the motion.
No, I'm happy for you to say your motion and then speak to it. That's fine as well.
Right. The Friends of Trig Beach calls upon Council to immediately stop spending hundreds of thousands of ratepayers' dollars and the city's time and resources on an unnecessary, unwanted and environmentally damaging coastal boardwalk between car parks at Scarborough and Trig Beach, and redirect the budget allocation to the restoration and rehabilitation of the remnant Class A Trig Beach Reserve and the protection of the threatened ecological community of Rottnest Island Pines that's within it. Speaking to that motion, the City of Stirling has been given considerable responsibility for the management of the South Trig Beach Class A Reserve by the state government on behalf of the people of Western Australia. Class A is the highest level of protection for Crown land reserves, and this is the only Class A reserve in the 7 kilometres of coastland in the City of Stirling. And it took a lot of work by the Friends of Trig Bushland in 1998 to have this coastal reserve reclassified due to its conservation value and its regional significance. It's also a bush forever area because it meets the criteria of a regionally significant bushland, and it is the only location on the city's coastline where there remains a complete complex of 4 dunes, swale and secondary dunes connected to inland and significant Tuart and Marri bushland for 2 kilometres east of Karrinyup. Dr Judy Fisher, a respected internationally recognised expert on ecosystems, states in her report to the city that this coastal reserve should not be fragmented and that any disturbance would bring change and damage to each of the different plant communities that exist on the vegetated dunes and swales that range from 5 to 12 metres high and are subject to erosion. Dr Fisher and Professor Vic Semenyuk, both internationally recognised experts on coastal ecosystems and geomorphology, recommend in the strongest terms that no development, including infrastructure such as a boardwalk, should be built on this fragile, mobile dune system that is increasingly under threat from climate change-induced ocean warming and erosion from increased intensity of storms. There is also the findings of the city's Coastal Hazard Risk Management and Adaptation Plan, which recommends that no development take place on the undeveloped coastal dunes at South Trig Beach, where erosion is also significant. This reserve is a buffer for coastal assets, such as the road and residences on West Coast Highway. There is evidence that the vegetation on this 13-hectare dune reserve is deteriorating and weeds are spreading. This is not good enough when the city has a responsibility to maintain the area on behalf of the state. Vegetation on the coastal dunes south of Brighton Beach is in much better condition. We need to know why the city is not putting the time and effort into rehabilitation and restoration of the vegetation on the South Trig Beach Reserve. Surely it cannot be because the council sees this dune reserve as potentially a tourist area with boardwalk and other facilities. This is where any spare money that the city obviously has, given how much time, money and resources are being devoted to the planning an unwanted, unnecessary and environmentally destructive coastal boardwalk, should be spent.
Thank you. Can I ask you just to read the first sentence of your motion out, just to reiterate, because we're going to vote on it, and it was before you obviously talked about it.
I need a seconder, don't I?
Yeah, but that's why I'd just like you to read, just so everyone understands again the main intent of it.
Right. We're calling upon the council to immediately stop spending hundreds of thousands of ratepayers' dollars and the city's time and resources on an unnecessary, unwanted and environmentally damaging coastal boardwalk between car parks at Scarborough and Trig Beach, and redirect the budget allocation to the restoration and rehabilitation of the remnant Class A Trig Beach Reserve and the protection of the TEC within it.
Thank you. And is there a seconder for this motion? I'm guessing you've brought a seconder along. Yes, would you like to call your name out? Thank you. I will now put that to the...
I had somebody lined up to second it. How does that work?
Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't aware of that. So it doesn't matter for the motion.
Does the seconder have the right to speak?
No.
Okay.
No, so obviously with this many people, it's because the format of this meeting would be, we'd spend 3 hours on each motion, I'm sure. I will put that to the vote now. So this motion is now going to the vote. I will ask for all those in favour to raise your hand. All right, I reckon this... Okay, thank you. And all those against to raise your hands. All right, that's beyond my pay scale. So thank you for that. I will ask, please, if you can stand if you are voting in favour of this, and I'll ask governance to go and one on each side to manually count. When a governance officer points to you, please take your seat. So you are voting for this motion, which is against the boardwalk. This is to stop the boardwalk. Please, can I just have quiet? Someone, you know what it's like when you try to count to 10? There's someone trying to count to 100 right now.
Mr. Mayor, I think I need to seek some verification of this procedure. It's happening very quickly.
It'll be quicker if you don't speak through it, Miss Murphy.
Thank you. Yeah, I've got a machine.
And
Did you count me as well?
I'm more concerned, Miss Murphy. I reckon you crossed the room a couple of times trying to get voted. A couple of times.
Did it work?
I will now ask for all those who are voting against to stand up. So this is to, yeah, you know what you're voting for.
Done. Thank you very much.
I reckon it's going to be easy if we call it a tie all night. But anyway, there were 82 in support of the motion. There were 94 against the motion. The motion is lost. Please. Please.
Mr Mayor, as the mover of the motion, I would like to ask, were only people with blue cards counted?
Well, only electors counted.
If I'm not sure if
Because I understood that only residents and ratepayers within the City of Stirling could vote on motions.
yes, but
I need that confirmation, so we may need
but
to
I can't give that confirmation unless everyone has driver's licence here tonight.
No,
I can't.
no, we were all given blue cards
Yep.
when we arrived as being
All right,
eligible to vote.
Did,
So could
please,
I have some...
could anyone let us know if they voted and they don't have a blue card? I'm happy to.
Can I ask the person who counted the vote, sorry, through you, Mr Mayor, whether she only counted people with blue cards?
No, I honestly don't think she double-checked if everyone had blue cards.
Well, then we need to do a recount.
I am happy with the process to date. There are several motions.
This is not valid, Mr Mayor. I'm sorry. We were told that we could only vote if we had a blue card. Why were we given blue cards? Can we please have this?
Thank you, Miss Murphy. If you can just take...
I mean, I've got to go through you.
Miss Murphy, can I ask you to take a seat and we'll get clarification?
We need...
Thank you. Miss Murphy, can I ask you to take a seat, please, and we'll get clarification? We've understood you. We've heard you. Mr Morby is comfortable. There are only 10 non-electors in the room.
Can we see those people?
It's irrelevant. Even if all 10 voted for it and were taken out, the motion would still be lost.
Move on.
I will now ask Kieran Kelly if you'd like to come up and place your motion. Thank you, Mr Kelly.
Kieran Kelly, Scarborough, and welcome everyone. And wouldn't it be great to see this many people at a meeting every second week?
Yeah.
And I do urge you all to come along to as many council meetings and not just this one. This is the only opportunity that we get to ask questions to the council, really. Okay, my first question...
You can call me anytime, Mr Kelly.
I know I can, Mr Mayor, but it's great to see people here.
It is.
Okay, my first motion is, with the dwindling tree canopy within the Stirling Council and the continuing urban infill that is spreading throughout the city boundaries, it is most beneficial for residents to have open space to recreate. This is why it is important for the council to develop and, most importantly, maintain these open spaces. Garden space has been a proven positive to our health and well-being. Good public recreational gardens are not abundant within the Perth metro area. We have Kings Park, Araluen, Hyde Park, Queen's Park, just to name a few. At the moment, the Civic Gardens across the road here is probably the council's premium or premier garden site, even though signage at the garden is alerting the public of current reticulation problems. So my motion tonight is, will the council have a serious look at developing a world-class civic garden arboretum within the city boundaries, either by upgrading already developed sites or a new greenfield site?
Thank you. And do I have a seconder for that motion? Thank you. Just stand up and say your name for everyone. Thank you, Felicity. All right, I will now put that to the vote. Please hold your cards up if you're in favour of that. Thank you. And hold your cards up if you're against that. Looks like you've just scraped through, Mr Kelly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And my second one is Scarborough over the past 10 years has gone through a major redevelopment through the push by local and state government to increase housing by the use of infill housing. This has changed the face of Scarborough from one house per block to 2, 3, 4 or more houses per block. With this increase has come the extra pressure put onto the existing infrastructure. It has also added to the increased usage of the road system and, most inconveniently, the use of the roads for car parking. It is almost impossible to drive safely on these roads due to cars being parked on the road. Scarborough has a laneway system throughout the area which has been used to access the many new houses that are built facing the laneway. Unfortunately, many residents living in these laneway facing houses are for convenience sake parking on the road instead of using their garage and parking apron. My motion is, will the council have a serious look at what can be done to manage on-road parking around Scarborough so as to make good road usage safe for vehicles and pedestrian traffic? And also, can they deliver a management plan or strategy plan for the future road use and parking within the Greater Scarborough area?
Thank you. Can I get a seconder for that motion, please? Thank you. Felicity Farrelly again. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, raise your hands. Thank you. And against? That motion is carried. Thank you, Mr Kelly.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Claire Peters. Claire Peters. Are you... Has she just ducked out? Is Claire up the back? Claire Peters?
No question.
Oh, I had you down for a motion.
That's me.
Oh. Says Claire on my sheet, but Dean Peters, you are welcome to come up.
Thank you, my darling. Good evening, Mr Mayor, councillors, city officers, fellow community members. Thank you for your patience this evening. My name is Dean Peters from Trigg, and I'm here to present a motion regarding the Coastal Boardwalk project with a preamble. As an opening remark, may we respect each other's views as individuals are allowed to have a different position, especially when the councillors have repeatedly heard from the same voices and the same agenda opposing the Coastal Boardwalk at council meetings since December 2023. Tonight, thank you, Lisa. Tonight, I would like to speak on behalf of the Trigg Scarborough Coastal Boardwalk Group, an independent community-led group advocating for the Coastal Boardwalk, a project that has been discussed for the last 2 decades. This initiative goes beyond providing quality infrastructure for the community. It's about safety, connectivity, enhanced tourism, community wellbeing, and responsible coastal enjoyment, all while redirecting pedestrians who currently walk less than 1 metre from 40,000 daily commuters, including 20-tonne trucks, with a figure projected to grow to 50,000 people, daily commuters, in the next decade. The voice of the community is clear and compelling. A recent survey conducted between October and November 24 gathered 630 individual responses, revealing the following key findings. 82% of people support the Coastal Boardwalk project. 81% support the City of Stirling funding this project. 84% of respondents are likely to use the boardwalk, and 77% of the community feel unsafe on the current shared path along West Coast Highway. The potential for this boardwalk between Scarborough and Trigg has been identified as a top 5 local priority in both suburbs. Before outlining the reasons why this project is important, I would like to debunk the claim made by opponents suggesting the boardwalk will cost $20 million to construct. During question time in October last year, Dylan Pence from the Bush Not Boardwalk Group inquired about the proposed cost, offering his own estimate of around $10 million, citing the current high costs of building materials and labour. The Mayor responded by stating that there was no current price tag for the boardwalk, and in a light-hearted exchange joked that he wouldn't be surprised that the cost ended up being double. The community, and make this very clear, has never asked for a boardwalk that's going to cost a $20 million investment to build this. This claim is false, misleading, and a clear contempt of skullduggery by the opposing group. The actual cost...
Quiet, please.
This actual cost will be determined through a proper process, including a cost-benefit analysis once the design is completed, and the design hasn't been completed. Now I'd like to explain why this project is important in addressing 5 key points. Point 1, safety and accessibility. The existing shared path along West Coast Highway is unsafe for pedestrians and cyclists due to the high traffic volume. As stated previously, 40,000 daily commuters, including 20-tonne trucks, travel, often at speed, along this highway. In fact, 77% of the communities consider the current shared cycle pedestrian path is unsafe. Point 2, environmental consideration and preservation. While the project requires legislative scrutiny and careful consideration of the key recommendations of the City's preliminary environmental opportunities and constraints assessment, there is no significant barriers to success. There are no significant barriers to success, provided we design a practical solution located east of the 27 coastal erosion hazard line as a guide, while maintaining while minimising impacts on landform stability, vegetation and fauna habitats. A boardwalk located east of the 2070, most of us won't be here in 2070, so we won't be able to enjoy it, but a boardwalk located east of the 27 coastal erosion hazard line should also be designed to avoid the threatened ecological community, which they refer to as TEC, concentrated on the southeast pocket as outlined in the City's Coastal Hazard Management and Adaptation Planning Guidelines, with a suitable buffer zone applied during the design process. We are confident that this boardwalk can be designed in a way that ensures a safe and sustainable user experience aligning with the best practice environmental planning. Point 3, connectivity and tourism. Linking Trigg and Scarborough with an award-winning, environmentally friendly boardwalk will encourage sustainable coastal access, benefiting both businesses and tourism while maintaining the area's natural beauty and access. Investing in high-quality, world-class infrastructure that supports tourism and the local economy should not be hindered by the objections of a group of local residents and environmental groups.
Can I ask you to get to the motion, sir? Quiet, please. Quiet, please.
Access and parking.
Quiet. Okay. I've just asked for the motion.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what the motion is. The motion, and I haven't finished, Mr. Mayor, if I can continue.
If you can just wrap it up, though. Thanks.
The motion is that we move the City of Stirling that prioritises the Coastal Boardwalk project, ensuring it considers environmental factors, community needs and safety concerns. This should be supported by community consultation, with funding opportunities explored through partnerships between the City of Stirling and the state and federal governments.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder for that motion? If you could just stand up, please, and say your name out nice and loud. Thank you. Have you wrapped up? Can we put that to the vote? Or have you got a quick statement? A quick statement.
I actually wouldn't mind just finishing, if I could.
Yep.
As we know, it's often the loudest voices that get the most attention, especially when it's a group making the noise. A widened footpath along West Coast Highway, as proposed by the Bush Not Boardwalk and the Friends of Trigg group, is flawed and a conflicting alternative. This approach would require extensive retaining and remediation of an A-class reserve, which is part of the threatened ecological community, impacting on the most densely established vegetation adjacent to the path, contradicting key conservation objectives proposed. The solution will also involve disruption to more than 40,000 daily commuters during the construction along a busy highway requiring intervention with main roads. The solution also fails to address safety concerns of the users, and this solution increases the hazards to pedestrians and cyclists due to limited space and close proximity to vehicles.
Mr. Peters, I might ask you to wrap it up there, if we can.
The motion, which I'll repeat.
No. Just your first part of it.
We move that the City of Stirling prioritise the Coastal Boardwalk project, ensuring it considers environmental factors, community needs and safety concerns.
That will do. It's clear.
Okay.
Yeah, it's clear what the motion is. We've heard it. I will ask, given that this one is probably going to be close as well, I will ask you to stand now, holding your card. If you are voting in favour of this, please, and we will count you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, obviously, if you are against this motion, I will ask you also to stand with your blue card. Thank you, everyone. That motion is carried 95 to 75.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Can I just ask a further question in relation to any other motions in relation to the coastal bore for the people in the gallery?
Sure.
Is there any further motions?
I will find out now. If you take a seat, I will get on with it and find out. To members of the gallery, I do think it's prudent. One is, as we move through, if you have a very similar motion, there's no need to repeat it, but if you have a separate motion relating to the boardwalk, I would ask that you put your hand up and we get the boardwalk questions out of the way. We do have a couple. Yep, we have.
Yeah, I'm registered up there with a question and a comment, etc. But I think Dean's pretty well covered everything I needed to.
Thank you.
I'm happy with that.
Is Jack? Let's keep it civil, everyone, please.
Right, that's what I want to hear. Making an impact. Okay, Leisha, Jack, Karen up. My question is
So motions, we're doing motions.
Sorry, motion.
Yep.
Well, I'd like to talk to the motion first. It's in regard to the boardwalk being promoted by the city and yourself, Mr Mayor, as a tourist attraction. The fact is the research from Tourism Research Australia shows that, and I have said this before, but the most important thing for tourists is nature and pristine beaches, pristine natural areas. The Scarborough Beach foreshore is already overdeveloped and, as many people have pointed out in surveys, lacking vegetation and trees. There isn't a lot of natural dune area there, so it's really important that that area is kept natural for tourists. The biggest spending category of tourists is still is international tourists. They're the big spenders, and the Chinese are still the biggest group. All tourists, whether they're, and the Chinese in particular, want natural areas. To put a man-made piece of infrastructure across that protected dune will reduce the environmental value of that area and therefore its tourism value. Sure, we have tourists, mass tourism where people go to Hillary's and so on. Well, as I said, we already have all the infrastructure, as much man-made infrastructure you could possibly want in Scarborough already. What is important to preserve the value of that area as a tourism destination is the pristine nature parts of it. So my motion is that the City of Stirling stop promoting misleadingly, or I'll take that out of the motion, that the city stop promoting this boardwalk as a tourist attraction.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that motion? Yep, and if you can just someone just stand up, please, over here, Miss. Yep, and just say your name nice and loud. Robin Madden will do. Thank you. And can I have a show of hands? We'll just try a show of hands first for this one. A show of hands to support the motion. Thank you. And against? Yeah, we're going to have to. It's going to be a long night, but we're going to have to ask you to stand. I can't determine that. Please stand up if you support the motion. The city doesn't promote it as a tourist opportunity. Thank you. Now, if I could ask you to stand, please, if you are against that motion. Stand if you're against that motion. And we'll count. We'll count those. Can I ask people, please don't move around while the vote's going on. That's not going to help us. Thanks.
Sorry to keep you waiting, guys. I know. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
That motion is lost 75 to 69. Is there another motion for the boardwalk that's different, that's going to make a difference to tonight? Just up the back. Oh.
My name's Mike Masiello from Trig. Firstly, I just wanted to debunk the situation regarding the traffic on West Coast Highway. If you do refer to the stats, northbound traffic, which is the concern, given that there is an island in the middle of the road, is 18,000, which is not dissimilar to West Coast Drive, the fact that there's 2 lanes there. Also, the same amount of traffic does drive south of Scarborough, and that zone is 70. Obviously, that whole section is 60. So just wanted to sort of bring some light there. I'm going to move a couple of motions. I just want to have a preamble. So through the process of elimination and recent comments by the city's acting director of infrastructure last week at the meeting, which you weren't present, Mr. Mayor, we confidently established that the primary driver for a proposed boardwalk through the dunes is not pedestrian safety, but the perception by the city that a boardwalk will lead to an explosive number of international tourism visiting Scarborough. According to the city's economic and tourism development strategy 21-25, tourism only comprises a mere 2.3% of the city's GDP and 3.7% of jobs, meaning tourism is relatively insignificant when the whole city is considered, and those numbers are really concentrated to a handful of businesses in the Scarborough foreshore, which I'm sure are well represented tonight here. Since this report was published, the city has implemented a range of strategies to drive tourism, such as the Scarborough Markets and other events run successfully through an annual $40,000 grant to the Scarborough Business Association. However, this success has clearly demonstrated Scarborough's inability to handle large numbers of visitors, with significant parking and congestion flooding onto surrounding residential areas, footpaths for surrounding kilometre radius. The latest boardwalk concept was seeded from Councillor Papard's election promise. Scarborough local convos then provided support with, a convo is basically 10 to 20 people getting together and sticking a blue dot on a motive statement. The question is, do ratepayers really want a boardwalk through the dunes, or would they be happy with a simple alternative solution that involves widening the existing path or creating a meandering walkers lane next to the current path at the top of the hill?
Quiet, please.
Our experience over the last 6 months is the city has not and is not determined. Our experience over the last 6 months is the city has not and is determined not to ask ratepayers this question. Instead, they have scraped the surface with a handful of local engagement sessions attended by 10 to 20 people and let the opposing groups perform the city's community engagement. Given that Facebook group numbers and online surveys can easily be manipulated, the results and group numbers need to be taken with a pinch of salt. There's a huge demographic that does not even use Facebook. Mayor Irwin, you've indicated to the media on recent occasions that the proportion of people that object to the boardwalk through dunes is a minority. What information are you basing this opinion on, and what proportion of path users do you estimate to oppose a boardwalk through the middle of the dunes?
Thank you. I've made it very clear at any stage that consultation has not occurred for this project yet.
You have to the media said there's a minority. Anyway, over the past few months, our group members have invested considerable time performing our own community engagement. Rather than engaging Facebook and LinkedIn business contacts and local businesses that stand to financially benefit from a boardwalk, we spoke to over 1,500 ratepayers, local, national, international tourists that use the path and interact with the reserve, and allowed those people to put their name down in the form of a petition. The petition calls upon the city not to build a standalone boardwalk through the dunes and instead widen the existing path. I'm pleased to inform the council that we have collected 1,500 signatures on this petition, which looks to be a city record. I can share with you the vast majority of path users would prefer to see the path widened to take the elevated view over the vegetated dunes to the ocean, which is a simple, cost-effective solution that preserves the natural environment that is already very accessible. Therefore, I propose to move two motions. Bushnot Boardwalk calls upon the Council to request that the City of Stirling prepare a report for Council to investigate the potential costs and options in conjunction with Main Roads, the Road Safety Commission and other key stakeholders from the State Government for securing and widening the existing shared path positioned between West Coast Highway and South Trigg Beach Reserve, providing separation for foot and cycle rideable traffic, a project that has demonstrable community support evidenced by a petition with over 1,500 signatures, as opposed to the numbers of people that Dean himself brought along tonight.
Yep. So what I will ask you to do, and look, I love those sort of comments in here. I think the main comment, let's all respect each other, hey? Because it's fine when it goes someone's way, but when it doesn't, you can't then have a crack at someone getting people to come along. You've all come here for a reason, so let's just keep it on topic, hey? Have you got a part B to that motion so we can just do this count once, sir?
Yeah, well, the second part is, given the lack of community support for standalone boardwalk through the dunes, both now and in the past, the extremely low likelihood of being granted the necessary environmental approvals and their prohibitively high costs of construction, ongoing maintenance, combined with suitable alternative solution being available, we call upon the Council to request that the City ceases further expenditure on the concept through the dunes and classify this option as unviable.
I would suggest, I'd almost rule that one out of order. That's been done. It's the same. It's effectively the same motion. But I'm happy. But I'm happy to add it on as part B. But I think you just need to focus on part A. But we'll put it on the minute so they're both there. But let's not go through the same motions over tonight. Can I have a seconder for that motion, please? Thank you. If you could stand up, sir.
Thomas Cameron.
Thank you. And I will put that, if you can please stand. Let's go straight. Let's not mess around. If you could stand up, please, if you're in favour of this, holding your blue card, please. And we will count you.
Excuse me. Sorry. Can I? We both need to count.
Pass me?
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. If I could now, if you are against this motion, if you could please stand up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. That motion is carried 72 to 71.
Just be clear that there's two motions there. Can I read those motions again?
No, the motions have been read, sir.
Both motions have been carried?
Yes, they were put together. They were put together.
Okay.
It's fine, it's the same motion.
They're not the same motion. There's two separate motions.
I understand that, sir. You've read them out. But effectively...
I just want a confirmation that there's two motions that I read out, that both of them are carried.
I can say it for a third time, yes.
Okay, thank you.
But please, everyone, we can spend all night going backwards and forwards with motions to and from the boardwalk. The intent is clearer that we've got half the room support it and half don't. There's no point in getting angry at each other. You're allowed to have different views. Felicity Farrelly, would you like to come forward, please?
Felicity Farrelly, Scarborough. Look, I'm not going to... I've stood up when I've shown my support for the boardwalk. This is probably the opposite to what I would have done 20 years ago. Well, it certainly was the opposite. But I want to leave it at that. There's a lot of information behind it. I thank the officers when I was a councillor. They were diligent in the information they obtained, and they were comprehensive in understanding the complexities. And I do trust, as having been a councillor, that the work undertaken by the city officers is above board, is not secretive, and they do try and save our money as ratepayers. I know, and I really would like to say as well, to be a councillor, I think, is a really a wonderful opportunity to see how the city works, and I would really like to see more opportunities given to other people to do that, because you do come out with a much better exposure and understanding. Anyway, that's an aside. I've got a couple of things that relate to where I live, and ask that the beach huts at Scarborough Beach be not put out to tender or be built upon, and that they be grassed for community benefit and beautification of our landscape in Scarborough. The two hubs I'm referring to have been a very contentious issue. They went out for potential lease when I first came on council. That was already in operation without a great deal of community consultation. So I do take on board that I think our community consultation needs to improve. The fact is, though, that the vista from what I'd like to see would be historically protected sandbar facade, that vista is incredibly important to the cultural heritage of Scarborough. And when you also come down Scarborough Beach Road from the third hill and you see the ocean, if you have buildings across that, even if they're 2 to 3 stories, you will lose the ocean. And then people are coming to the beach like they do in New South Wales at different spots where you don't see the ocean, you see concrete barriers to keep the traffic from seeing the ocean. I actually don't understand the way they do that. So that is so if I can put, if that came out, it's not a motion, it's meant to be a motion, that the beach up at Scarborough be not put to tender or any other infrastructure placed on them, and be grassed for community benefit and beautification of our landscape in Scarborough. And I would ask, is there a seconder?
That's my job. Is there a seconder?
Oh.
Is there a seconder for that motion? Could you stand up and say your name, please? Thank you. And I will put that to the vote. Hold your blue cards up if you support that vote. So that's the wood chip areas down Scarborough, to not put them out to tender for buildings, to make them nice recreational areas. There you go. Thank you. And if you put your hands down, if you are against that motion, put your cards up. That is carried.
Thank you very much to the community. Look, I know some of you probably don't even know what I'm talking about, so thank you.
Hopefully they did.
It's been on the agenda for a long time and it always comes up, but I just want to keep pushing it. The other side is actually probably regard to Kieran Kelly. It is the urban planning in congested spaces, and I'd like to, if I may, add to his motion that the City of Stirling initiate the following: that they widen footpaths to 1.5 metres on primary roads in localities of East Goodahire or install cycle lanes within major roads. I'm not talking about every single road, which was thrown at me as a councillor, you might recall. It's the major roads. That the lack of parking, install brick paved parking bays in verges, allowing more off-street parking. Brick paving because you need percolation through rainwater and things like that. And also it's beautification. And within those, between those, put trees, of course. I know the city's good on trees, so I don't think I have to say that. But in your public land, not in the private land. Install entry statements into residential streets in these congested areas. I have probably spoken about these in council and you're probably bored to tears by them. But all of that makes a residential realm that gives people a feeling of safety, of home, of being able to have a community. And at the moment, I live in Scarborough, it's an incredibly congested space. Every Thursday night, my verge is like a potential parking lot. I also see the problems with the garbage trucks coming through on Tuesday morning and they can't get through, so most of the time our bins don't get, what do you call it?
Empty.
Yeah, emptied. And in between that, we have a real problem with people parking on roads because there's nowhere else to park.
So the main part of your motion is to widen the footpaths?
Yeah, to 1.5, and you know why.
I'm just trying to make it clear so we get a seconder for...
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, can I just add that though? If Kieran Kelly is willing to...
I think they're separate motions.
Okay,
I think
all right.
it's cleaner. So to widen the footpaths on the primary roads to provide better accessibility.
Yeah, or otherwise put a cycle lane like they do in Copenhagen.
Sure. Is there a seconder for that motion? No. Come on, surely someone would second. There you go. Thank you, Thomas Cameron. Yes. Thank you. And could I just have a show of cards if you support footpaths on primary roads in that precinct getting widened to provide better accessibility? Thank you. And if you're against that motion, that is carried. There you go.
Thank you very much to those that agreed. The final one is that the city...
Oh, I'll let... If it's a quick one, we seriously...
No.
This
instigate the approval of a parking space in the city-owned block in West Coast Highway near Brighton Beach. When I was councillor, we found out that since the development of Scarborough, we're a third less parking bays. We've also got the development that's occurring on Reserve Street, down at 1 Reserve Street. That is meant to be replacing those 100 parking bays that are not available at the moment. However, at the moment, they aren't there. So we've really got a loss of parking bays on the beach, and that's having a real impact on the surrounding streets and also on people coming down to the beach. But particularly on the surrounding streets, we're ending up like parking streets on those beach days, and it's becoming quite dangerous.
Thank you. So that was that lot on West Coast Highway 273?
The one the City of Stirling owns.
Yes, that is.
The one that the council voted against supporting last year.
Yes. Yeah, the one the city owns. So you're voting that we put a car park on it?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a seconder for that motion? Thank you. Up the back, Damien Kelly. Recognise that face from a few posters. Show of hands if you support that vote. More parking on that empty block, West Coast Highway. It's south of Brighton Road. That one.
Thanks.
Thank you. And if you're against that motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will now go to Daniela Iron.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Daniela Ion and I am from Nulamara. I will be very quick. It's about street trees. So our street trees make a significant contribution to the city of Stirling's ongoing development as a livable, sustainable and prosperous city. Trees bring color, shade and human scale to our streets, helping to make them a great place for people to be. Distinctive patterns and high-quality planting can also reinforce cultural heritage and natural character. Street trees create valuable habitat for our local flora and fauna and provide a range of other and tangible ecosystem services, including carbon storage, improved air quality, stormwater management, and energy saving. As our cities get hotter, the cooling effect provided by large, healthy tree canopies will make a critical contribution to our city. So the motions ask for the following. Point 1, a shift away from the traditional street tree theme approach in order to provide biodiversity and resilience to pests and diseases. The second one will be maximization of canopy tree, street tree, provide aiming for continuous canopy coverage after 20 years or of moderate growing, and the combined value of all trees on average to be 1.5. And the last point is a street tree planting list to identify default species as large trees endemic to the LGA. So as one of my friends who is a gardener and with over 25 years experience said that he strongly believes that diversity is a key risk management strategy. I was very short because I know it's too late and everybody wants to go home.
So can you just succinctly put your motion, just so...
So first point is this, to have a diversity trees and large trees. To have different trees,
yep.
Not what we have now, maybe more species.
More species?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a seconder for that motion? Thank you. Just stand up and just say your name or just... Yes? Thank you. That'll do, yep. And just a show of hands, more diversity on our street trees. There you go. You got a lot of support there. Hands down if you're against. Just want box trees. No one there. We've got one over here. I'm with you. I don't mind them either. Your motion is carried. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have Lloyd Macaulay. Oh, sorry. Okay. We have Jefferson Allen. Motion. Thank you. Your name and suburb and your motion, sir.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Jefferson Allen from Chewett Hill. And as previously outlined by others, trees are an important public amenity in the City of Stirling, as they are in all councils. We need trees for shade, to cool our suburbs, for the benefit of birds and other wildlife, and to make this area an appealing place to live. This is why I propose the following motion for the protection of trees on public land. That the City of Stirling street tree policy is reviewed and amended to reflect current issues and to be aligned with current best practice, including 1. Requests for street tree removal should be minimised through policy, and where removal of the street tree cannot be avoided, the amenity value paid by the adjoining landowner to be allocated to the street tree budget. 2. Authorisation for removal of street trees being removed from the CEO's delegations and instead be a decision of council. And 3. That the town develop a register of significant trees on public land, including trees used for habitat, foraging and day and night roosting by native bird species. To briefly explain these, the first part attempts to ensure that trees on public land are only removed with good reason. Street trees should not be removed because of a bit of leaf litter blown into a nearby yard. If a tree is to be removed for frivolous reasons at the behest of a resident, the value provided to the community should be compensated by that resident. This is not to prevent the removal of trees where there are safety concerns or other serious grounds for their removal. The second part ensures that there is room for deliberation and discussion around the removal of trees. Decisions to remove public trees, some of which could be many decades old, should not be a tick and flick exercise left to a single individual. Whether this individual is the council CEO or a delegate of theirs, it should be a group decision made by the entire council as a matter of public interest. Finally, the last part aims to create a significant tree register for public land, in addition to the significant tree register that already exists on private land. There are many large old trees on public land that we need to protect. Having a register to keep track of these trees will raise their profile and help the council to protect them. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. And I will ask for a seconder for that motion, please. Thank you. Just someone just up the back there, stand up. Yes. Yep. Caroline McLean. Thank you. And can I have a show of hands for all those in favour, please? Okay. Thank you. And against? Lots of tree lovers here. There you go. That motion is carried, sir.
Thank you.
Matthew Inman in Trigg.
Mr Mayor, Matthews had to leave, but I have his motion.
Can someone else read it out, just so we have... It'll...
Can I still do my own questions?
Yeah, this is just a motion. As long as if it's about the boardwalk, it's got to be significantly different.
You know it's got to be significantly different. Okay, let's get this on. Lisa from Trig. Let's have a look. Now that the real reason for the multi-million-dollar coastal boardwalk has been exposed as a tourism venture, not a dual-path safety issue, we call upon the council to seriously consider whether the claim that an environmentally destructive boardwalk would attract international visitors to Scarborough Beach is valid or viable. And given the absence of evidence that a boardwalk is a tourist attraction, reject any further expenditure on this ill-advised proposal.
Thank you. And with all due respect, I'm going to rule that out of order. It's exactly the same motion that was done first up. We've got a lot of stuff to get through. I think the point's been made about the boardwalk.
There is, but there's a few others to come. But I will let some, can I come back later then for my questions?
The questions,
and there's
certainly.
A few others.
Certainly, but I'm also conscious that whilst there's plenty of people interested in the boardwalk, there's probably some poor people in the room who've just come to ask a question about something else. No, I've ruled it out of order, sir. As a presiding member, I've ruled it out of order and given my reason.
This is an electors general meeting, not your...
There's 30 suburbs in Stirling.
Yeah.
30.
So please, everyone, this is all a matter for public record, but I've ruled it out of order. It's effectively the same motion that's been asked before, not to spend money on the boardwalk. And the motion's been clear. It's been put in four different ways. So I've ruled it out of order.
Can we dissent from the ruling?
I'm the presiding member at this meeting. I'm sorry. It's my ruling is final. No, I'm very sorry. Caroline McLean.
This is a dictatorship.
Or hardly. Hardly. This seriously, people, and apologies to you coming up here, to call this a dictatorship when I'm presiding over one of the most democratic and transparent processes where you all have the right to come out of your homes and spend your Monday nights here. I'm sure many of you had better things to do and vote on this, then I would hardly call that a dictatorship. If you'd like to call your name and your suburb and put your motion forward.
Yes, my name is Caroline McLean from Scarborough. So I have two motions this evening. So what I'll do is I'll talk to the motion first and then give my rationale, and then I can repeat the motion if that assists. So the first motion is relating to local planning and tree retention. I propose that the City of Stirling, under Schedule 2 of the Planning and Development Local Planning Schemes Regulations of 2015, immediately initiates the process required for adoption of the Walga Model Local Planning Policy, Tree Retention, which provides protection for mature trees on private property by defining the removal of a regulated tree or trees as works which requires development approval. The Council should consider bringing this as a standalone item by the end of financial year 2025. From a rationale perspective, I'll run through some of my thoughts for bringing this motion today. So I'm bringing this motion in recognition of the fact that Perth is in a tree canopy crisis. Property development, a warming, drier climate with record-breaking summers, and the relentless Polyphagus shothole borer are all acting together to reduce our tree canopy across our state. These threats must be countered with proactive planning and action at council level to protect and increase our tree canopy. The most recent metro-wide canopy data from DPLH was obtained in 2020. This data showed that Perth had 16% tree canopy cover, which is the lowest of any Australian capital city. This is a staggering figure, and my concern is that without meaningful protection for existing tree canopy, we are going to continue to see this number reduce even further. As per the minutes of City of Stirling Ordinary Council meeting of Council on the 4th of March 2025, we see that the Council endorses a 30% average tree canopy target for city-managed land to be achieved by 2040. This target does not take into account tree canopy on private land, and this is why I see that the Walga model planning policy tree retention must also be considered in addition to this. With 80% of canopy loss occurring on private land, I see this as an area that needs urgent protection to be implemented, not only for the health and well-being of our city and our state, but as a quick win to help support the City of Stirling target to significantly increase our overall tree canopy by 2040. Capital cities across Australia have had blanket tree protection policies in place for decades. The sky has not fallen in, economies continue to grow, and houses continue to be built. This is not an anti-development policy. Instead, it is a policy which puts forward a sensible framework to protect existing tree canopy on private land in our suburbs to enhance the health and well-being of our community and our environment. Tree canopy protection is one of our biggest tools in climate change mitigation, cooling our suburbs and reducing energy consumption. It also provides invaluable physical and mental health benefits to all of our people, as well as providing a safe haven for our biodiversity to be able to thrive. In response to calls from local governments, WALGA has developed this policy with some very sensible exclusions and has carefully considered the need to balance private rights with communal benefit for all residents. The WALGA policy is not intended to save every tree. Its intent is to limit the unnecessary removal of healthy trees. Removal of healthy trees for reasons of inconvenience or fear is not beneficial to the health and well-being of our community, our climate, or our environment. Sensibly applied, we believe the policy will support further density through better design and planning to ensure that significant trees are retained rather than removed. I hereby urge you to follow other councils in adopting this solution to the ongoing loss of our tree canopy for the benefit of our community today and for the benefit of the generations who follow after us.
Thank you.
So that's the first. The second part of the motion is that, or the second motion to be considered as a standalone, may I make that clear, that the City of Stirling...
Well, if they're completely standalone, then
Well, it's a second part too then, okay.
Yeah,
It
they'll
should
both
be... Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's one
Because
or the other.
I would like at least the tree planning policy retention to be brought into effect by the end of the financial year 2025.
But is the second part related to it, or is it completely on
It is
another
in
topic?
support of, yes.
Okay,
It is
well,
in
let's
support
just
of.
do that part
Yeah,
B.
okay.
Let's go.
That the City of Stirling explores initiatives for owner-builder and/or property developers for keeping trees on developed sites. This should be a separate adoption of the above-mentioned WALGA template. The rationale here is to encourage property developers and owner-builders to maintain existing tree canopy in their developments. Incentives alone do not appear to have been effective, and so I feel that any incentive package should be designed to complement the regulation under the WALGA template rather than exist in isolation of it. So I guess that's the key part, is that the second should not exist without the implementation of the WALGA policy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there a seconder for your motion that you've got up? Yes, if someone can stand up. Thank you. And I'll put that motion, if you can hold your blue cards up if you support that motion. Thank you. And hands down and hands up if you don't support that motion. I reckon you got it carried. Well done and well
Great.
said.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, I have you, Mr. Mitchell, down for a motion.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a motion in relation to the boardwalk at Scarborough, but one thing I'd like to say is I don't belong to any organisation either for or against it. As a matter of fact, I don't want it, but I don't like to be included in those like Mr. Peters seems to insinuate.
There is no doubt, Mr.
Anyway,
Mitchell, you are unique.
I'll get on with my motion. My motion relates to the coast as it is now. We have a footpath that goes...
Can I ask just straight up for your
right
motion?
through
Your
from
motion.
Mindari to City Beach, and people walk along that, and there's never been any problem with it, and I would like to see it remain in that form. Now, the coastal dune between Scarborough and Tree is rather unique. Along the coast, well, you might say between Karrinyup Road and Mindari, there's serious, well, they're basically cliffs. And that's a unique piece of land. And I'm not against something that gives the tourism and people walking down there the chance to stop and have a look at the ocean, the people surfing there. And what my proposal is to put a gazebo at the top end of the walkway from the car park that joins the footpath that goes along West Coast Highway, and put it in there in an area that I looked at, which is basically a remnant type growth, which should be improved. And putting a gazebo
You're a brave man in this crowd, Mr. Mitchell.
So putting a gazebo in is a statement, and it's a place to go to. And I was thinking today, because tomorrow is my birthday, and I'm I'm 84, and I've lived a long life. I was in the City of Perth Surf Lifesaving Club, and I used to go up and down the coast. I didn't bother surfing, but I knew a lot of people. And one bloke that struck me that
Mr. Mitchell,
has never...
Can we just get to the motion?
Yeah, well, wait a minute. This gazebo, before I finish, I think that it should be in honour of a man that was a beach inspector on Scarborough Beach, that was rather an icon, and his name was Johnny Alva. And I don't know whether you've heard of him, but I think we should put a gazebo up there.
Let's one thing at a time.
And do away with this broadwalk.
Yeah, sure. One thing
I'd
at a
like
time.
to put that motion.
So let's keep the motion clear to build a gazebo at the top of the bike
Yes,
path.
that's correct.
Near Phil's house.
Have I got a second?
I reckon you've probably got opposition over there. Is there a seconder for your motion? Is there a seconder for the gazebo? Oh, come on, give him. Thank you. Just your name? Mark Thompson. You have a seconder?
Thanks, Mark.
Yep. Let's.
All right.
I'm not always great at reading the room. I don't like your chances. But we'll put it to the vote. I've been wrong. All those in favour of the gazebo outside Phil's house.
No one.
Okay, and against?
I raised it.
And against? Well, it's close. I think it's been lost. But we understand your point. Thank you, Mr Mitchell.
At least it's on the record.
Yes. It's always on the record.
Do we move on to other business or have a...
But if I can ask, if everyone comes up, we still have lots to get through. If I can just ask one question per person, and then if they're all finished and people want to stay and keep asking questions to not just myself, we'll just keep going. But I think in fairness for time, just one succinct question from each person, please.
I have a second motion here, but it's in relation to parking for construction workers at the Karrinyup Shopping Centre. Can I put it?
You can put a motion, yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, this motion relates
but short,
to,
please.
This motion I'm putting relates to the Karrinyup area in relation to the building that's going to start, I believe, in September, and it will go for about 7 years. A 24-storey, a 15-storey and a 9-storey. And near the end of last year, there was an application, a development application to use the Karrinyup Primary School oval, which has been used for years by the staff at the Karrinyup Shopping Centre. But the representative for the builder
Thank you, Mr Mitchell. Thank you, but can I get your motion? Let's just get your motion.
And he wanted to use that oval weekends throughout the year for their parking. And that would have taken away the complete use of that oval for the people of Karrinyup for 7 years. And it got pulled out.
So your motion is...
I'm frightened it'll come back. But this one...
I need your motion.
You'll be pleased to know that I'm doing the City of Stirling a big favour.
Thank you, Mr Mitchell.
Now, I'll put the motion.
All right, good idea.
This motion relates to the construction workers to build the towers at the west side of the Karrinyup Shopping Centre over many years. The city owns the car park adjacent to the community centre, part of Lot 3 Davenport Street. I offer this motion that the City of Stirling Council offer to lease a fenced-off portion of this car park to the builder owner for their construction workers. The lease from the beginning of the construction of the towers until practical completion.
Thank you.
Now,
let's get a second.
That's going to be a lot of money for the council.
It is.
And I'd like a seconder for that.
I'm trying to find one. Seconder, just say your name out loud. Thomas Cameron has seconded that. I'll put that motion that we use the car park. It's the one...
Part of the car park.
Part of the car park out the back. It's the one next to the Stirling Library at Karrinyup Shopping Centre for the builders. All those in favour? Thank you. And against?
Oh, well.
I'm sorry, Mr Mitchell, you're lost.
When they park on your verge, don't blame me.
For those who don't know Mr Mitchell, the irony of this is if we actually did that, he'd be the first in here telling me, you're an idiot, Mr Mayor.
Well, Mayor, for 50 years, the Karrinyup Shopping Centre have been able to park there for nothing.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for your motion. I will now go to Jennifer Hawkes from Kareem. Let's change it up a bit. Yes. Is there Jennifer Hawkes from Kareem? Yes. I got excited with another suburb. Would you just your name and suburb and your question?
Jennifer Hawkes from Kareem. Good evening, Mr Mayor, councillors and everyone. This is very brief. And it says, it regards the boardwalk, and it says, does the council seriously believe that a steel and concrete boardwalk structure between Scarborough and Trigg Beach would enhance the views over the dunes to the ocean, currently enjoyed by people walking or driving along West Coast Highway, and that the production of cement is one of the biggest productions of CO2 on the planet. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. And look, that matter is an item that is currently being investigated, will go out for community consultation, and will be an item that will be decided at council.
Thank you.
Justin Jurisic from Scarborough. You got a support base here. Well done. Just your name and suburb and your question, sir.
Justin Jurisic from Scarborough. I will note that actually the support is from the younger people as well, not to offend the older people, but it is the younger people who will inherit what we're deciding in this council. I wasn't going to start with a preamble, but everybody else has. So I would like to actually start with a phrase. There's lies, damn lies, and statistics. This was popularised by Mark Twain to highlight the persuasive power of statistics and the potential for them to be used to support weak arguments, even when presented deceptively. And I must say, I've heard a lot of statistics tonight. Somebody also mentioned that people have only been here since about October 2023 opposing the boardwalk. I would refute that to say that actually this has been going on for about 20 years, that the boardwalk has been gone against for 20 years, not since October 2023. So my motion, which is very quick, is just to call upon the council to request that the city, as part of the boardwalk feasibility study, provides for a public examination the projected initial construction cost and anticipated annual ongoing costs of the boardwalk, including, but not limited to, maintenance, rubbish collection, lighting, CCT installation and monitoring, ongoing security, fire prevention strategies, weeding, vegetation, and the watering of that vegetation.
Sure. Is there a seconder for that motion? Thank you. Mike Masiello, Trigg, and a show of hands for that. Thank you. And against? That motion is carried, sir. Is Bradley Maguire still here? Very patiently.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, councillors, officers and ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to move my motion. I hope it will be self-explanatory.
And just your name and suburb, just say.
Bradley Maguire, Inglewood, sorry. My motion is that council temporarily defer the proposed walks at the corner of Clifton Crescent and Central Avenue on the Inglewood-Mount Lawley border, refer to Council Resolution 0523/025 and refer those proposed works to the Community and Resources Committee and refer to the CRC minutes of the 16th of May 2023, item ES1, to investigate whether the subsequent crash data for 2023, 24 and 25 calendar years that weren't available at the time of the 2023 resolution continue to support those proposed works, whether the crash data up to 2023, which informed Council's resolution, when viewed in light of the crash data since that time, supports the conclusion that the spike in traffic incidents at the intersection was the result of the 9-month temporary closure of Beaufort Street by Water Corporation, whether funding would be better reallocated to other road safety projects within the City of Stirling, whether the funding can be reallocated to other road safety projects within the City of Stirling consistent with the state government funding programs rules, or whether funding must be surrendered, and whether the changed conditions at the intersection since that resolution was passed, which include now 40km/h speed limit on Central Avenue, mean that the modification proposed 2 to 3 years ago is no longer necessary, and in light of the existing intermittent 40km/h speed limit, whether a more cost-effective solution would be extending the hours of the 40km/h speed limit to include the afternoon peak hour. The proposed works are to be reconsidered at council once the CRC has reported.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? I'm assuming you've brought a seconder along from
No,
Inglewood?
I didn't actually. So.
Right, so just someone put their hands up for me. Thank you. To say a name. Thank you. So the gentleman isn't asking for us to not do specific intersection works. He's asking for us to pause it, reinvestigate and bring a report back on that. So
it's just a question of financial oversight and management as whether a decision 2 years ago is still the right decision. It may well be, I don't know, but...
I just wanted to try to clarify that because obviously a lot of people are thinking, I don't know the intersection, but it's not to take out roadworks or anything. It's just to re-examine a decision that was made on a particular piece of roadworks. All right, we have a seconder, so I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your cards. Thank you. And against? Thank you. That motion is carried. It was worth the wait, Mr. Maguire. Robert Savage-Jones. Okay, might have gone. Julia Stone. Marie Georgie. Welcome.
Thank you. Marie Georgie Hammersley. I'll speak to my motion first and then I'll state what the motion is. Good evening, Mr Mayor, councillors, residents and ratepayers. My name is Marie Georgie. I'm a Hammersley ratepayer and I'm the convener of the Friends of Erindale Road Bushland. Council is aware that 13.55 hectares of remnant Banksia woodland at 179 Erindale Road, Hammersley is under threat of clearing for development. On the 10th of May 2022, Council voted unanimously to reject an application from the landowner to have the land rezoned to enable it to be sold as a site for housing development. When considering the owner's application, the Planning and Development Committee recommended that Council not proceed with the rezoning of the bushland. The City's report upon which this recommendation was made also recommended the reclassification of the bushland to a locally significant natural area and that it investigate rezoning the site from public use Commonwealth to environmental conservation, both actions which are supported by the City's local planning strategy and local biodiversity strategy. At a local level, Council will be aware, and we know support, the importance of urban forest as outlined in the City's urban forest plan. If this bushland in Hammersley is cleared, it would result in a significant loss of tree canopy and wildlife habitat. It is a foraging site for the critically endangered Carnaby's black cockatoo. As detailed in item 12.1 CF4 at the City's recent council meeting on the 18th of March 2025, I quote, "The City has previously reported on tree canopy loss across the City, which is predominantly occurring on land zoned for residential development," and goes on to state, quote, "Notwithstanding the City's best attempt to help developers retain trees on site by means of priority assessment and arborist assistance, the policy review identified that developers rarely choose to retain trees on development sites, which negatively impacts the City's tree canopy coverage." End of quote. Given there are 3 levels of government involved in decision making regarding the future of this bushland, Council has an opportunity right now to protect this remnant urban bushland and prevent further canopy loss across the City by reclassifying it to a locally significant natural area and rezoning the site to environmental conservation zone. So my motion that I'd like to propose is that the City of Stirling reclassifies lot 802 and part lot 803, 179 Erindale Road, Hammersley, to a locally significant natural area, and rezones the bushland from public use Commonwealth to environmental conservation in the City's local planning scheme to ensure its protection into the future.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to make a presentation on behalf of the Friends of Erindale Road Bushland.
You're welcome. Let's get you a seconder. I think you've probably got one somewhere. Have you got to call your name out? Dylan Riddell from Hammersley is seconded. I'll put that motion. If you could hold your cards up, please, if you're in favour. There you go. And that's it. Thank you. Hands down.
you.
And against, that motion is carried. Thank you. Well done.
Thank you.
Damien Kelly, Scarborough.
No motion, just a question. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I note that the
name and suburb.
Oh, sorry, Damien Kelly, Scarborough. Sorry, another one from Scarborough. Sorry. I note that there was a review of the traffic, pedestrian, road safety issues for roads surrounding Karrinyup Shopping Centre was proposed by Councillor Kristicevich at a council meeting on the 18th of February, and the council voted unanimously to support this motion. And I also note that Main Roads, a state government body, is responsible for Karrinyup Road. The question is, can the council advise if it is aware of any state government plan to resolve the traffic chaos around Karrinyup Shopping Centre, including Burrows Road and Karrinyup Road?
Mr. Murphy.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, we're not aware of any work that's been done by Main Roads on that intersection.
Okay. Has there been any assistance or help that's been sought by any local members of Parliament, State Parliament in that regard?
You would have to direct that question to them.
Okay. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Annalisa Dixon.
Annalisa Sally Dixon, Inglewood. This is a question, not a motion. Why does the City of Stirling require that new commercial developments provide 1 tree per 6 car base as a shade amenity, when many other local government areas require 1 tree per 4 base?
Thank you. Ms. Hughes.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you for the question. The city isn't planning to change that ratio. You are correct. We do require 1 per 6 to be planted. Each local government adopts a slightly different rate. Some are the 1 per 4, but many others like Belmont and I believe Melville also adopt the 1 per 6. The city is trying to focus on ensuring those trees that do go in do survive and have the best chance at growing to their full potential.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tommy Cameron.
Good evening, all. Just a quick question. I'll keep it nice and short.
And just your name and suburb to
Thomas
start.
Cameron, Trigg.
Thank you.
In 2017, the state government stopped the MRA's proposed road extensions that would have run north and south of Scarborough along the Esplanade and through the Scarborough and Trigg dual ecosystem. As quoted by the WA media statement, it said, while the road extensions would provide additional entry and exit points into and out of Scarborough Beach, they would have detrimental impacts on the existing dune system. Why does the City of Stirling believe this new construction, being the boardwalk, is any different and that the state government will change their mind, having stated the detrimental impact construction would have on the dual system that's there?
Look, and thank you for that question. Look, apart from the obvious fact that a boardwalk is significantly different from a road, but that will all form part of the investigations, and it will certainly be under the same scrutiny from the state government and those environmental protection agencies.
Yeah, but it's still a construction site. There's footings. If you
No,
watch
I acknowledge that.
Yeah.
I acknowledge that, and that will form part of the investigation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Where are we going? Is it Barry Stone here from Stirling?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, councillors. My name is Barry Stone, Stirling. I've got an easy question. In mid-December, I submitted a request that the swamps in Stirling, or the Shearwater Stirling Reserve, were very untidy, and I requested that the trees, which were dead trees in the lakes, be removed. That was in mid-December, and nothing has happened since that date. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Sorry to hear that. We'll be in contact and ensure someone comes and sees you about it. I'm getting myself lost in the amount of... Taj McCarthy. Is Taj McCarthy here? I don't have a question. Thank you. I've got Akira Prum. I've got a Michael Watsek. That's been covered. I've got a Heather McKeon. Is there a Heather still here from Woodlands? Is there a Leonie Carol Viana? This is going better than I thought. I might have the wrong list. This might. What's this list for? William Crabtree from Scarborough.
Definitely the wrong list.
I'm starting. It does say this meeting. It could be anything. Melissa O'Toole from Duncraig. Yes.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Melissa O'Toole. I'm a resident of Joondalup. I'm here on behalf of my mother-in-law, Marion, who lives
Sorry,
in
could I
Korea.
get you to speak up a little bit? Just
Sorry. My name's Melissa O'Toole. I'm a resident of Joondalup, and I'm here on behalf of my mother-in-law, Marion O'Toole, who lives in Korean. I'm an environmental scientist with over 20 years' experience specialising in environmental impact assessment and environmental approvals. My question is regarding the Scarborough Tree Boardwalk. I'd like to know, why wasn't a weighted multi-criteria options analysis undertaken instead of going straight to a boardwalk proposal? Multi-criteria options analyses are usually the first step in any pre-feasibility work. Will the council assure the ratepayers that a weighted MCA will be undertaken prior to spending further ratepayers' funds?
Thank you. I might see if Ms Walsencroft can provide you some advice on this one.
At this stage, as part of the pre-feasibility, we are assessing whether the coastal boardwalk is an option at all. Once that has been completed, the city will consider conducting an MCA on the proposal.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I don't think that really is an answer to the question. So usually a multi-criteria analysis is performed prior to any kind of other environmental studies being conducted, which hasn't been the case in this instance. And I would like to understand why that wouldn't be the next step.
So I think, the answer is clear in the sense that the boardwalk itself still hasn't gone to any actual planning stage, and it hasn't gone through all the official environmental. It's only a preliminary environmental assessment.
So normally the first step is a multi-criteria analysis of all of the options that are available prior to a pre-feasibility stage, which didn't occur here. So my question is, why hasn't a multi-criteria analysis been undertaken as a first step, and why is it not being undertaken now as a second step?
But I think the answer's been given that it will be undertaken if it becomes an option.
That will be the next step?
Well, we've got to know if the boardwalk is going to even be an option first.
But that's what the multi-criteria analysis is for.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's all I can say.
So a multi-criteria analysis is to determine whether or not the option is viable. And that's why it's normally undertaken prior to a pre-feasibility study.
Okay. Yeah, we appreciate your comments on it.
Thank you. May I make a motion, please?
If you want to put a motion that a multi-criteria assessment be conducted, you can.
So I would like to put forward a motion that a weighted multi-criteria options analysis of the options available to the council in terms of a boardwalk or an upgraded pathway or a do-nothing approach multi-criteria analysis be undertaken prior to further spending of ratepayers' funds.
Right. There are about 8 different motions in there. So a seconder for that motion. Thank you, Ariane Bradley. And a show of hands, please, to support that. Thank you. And against? That motion is carried.
Thank you.
Shirley Davey from Woodlands. Shirley Davey. Ariane Bradley, if you'd like to come up.
Hi, everyone. Right. There are many factors that indicate...
Your name and suburb.
Sorry, Ariane Bradley, Balcatta. Right. There are many factors that indicate, in comparison to other WA local councils, City of Stirling drastically underperforms in areas with respect to wildlife and environmental protection. Recently, a councillor rather concerningly confirmed they didn't know that owls were native to the area. I didn't think it was funny. Anyway, this is incredibly unsettling and leaves residents full of doubts around the understanding that our councillors have of the environmental impacts and threats currently facing areas in Kos and the wildlife that occupy these spaces. How much independent research do councillors do, if any, into decisions that impact local wildlife and the environment?
You would have to ask individual councillors that.
Yeah.
But quite obviously, councillors can't be expected to be experts on every facet of their role. They're here for community context. The officers are the ones that would provide the expert opinions and would provide that through evidence in reports to council.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim Diamond from Yokine. All right. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't do that on purpose. I didn't know. Pia Magarajia. Apologies. I've got a feeling that wasn't perfect.
It's actually Pierre Magarajia. Thanks anyway for trying. Commonly known as Pete or Peter. I'm from the Karrinyup area. Lived in the area for about 30 years. And I'd just like to say that I'm very anti-boardwalk for a couple of reasons. All the questions and mandates and preambles have all been read out. So what I'd like to do is change tack and just state a couple of things. The Shire is meant to be the steward of environmental protection and sustainability, correct? I think that's part of the City of Stirling's kind of mandate and to be a steward. So what I can't understand is that why has the Shire or City of Stirling allowed all this preamble and just given it time and energy to actually allow the survey to even go near this protected coastal ward area, you know, that's actually mandated to be a A-class reserve forever. And here we are, spending all this time and energy, just goes on, when really the Shire should just shut it down, stick to the rules of the game. That's my question.
Oh, look,
and statement.
Yeah. No, and it is a strong statement. But look, this council will follow investigation as the council motions come up. Council will investigate them and then they'll put them to the community.
Yeah, but my statement was, you shouldn't even be given it time of day. It should be just in legislation, which it is. A-class reserve should be untouched. Stop tampering with it, stop meddling with it, and trying to change the rules of the game.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments.
Thank you. For the record.
I'm just trying to count how many we've got left to see if I can finish without a comfort break. I'm going to call, it's going to be obvious. I'm just going to call a short recess for 5 minutes just to allow councillors as well, or any officers. We've been going for, sitting up here for close to 3 hours now. So I will just a short break and we'll come back and we finish. We've still got a good dozen or so questions to go. Hemsani. If you'd like to come forward, please. Thank you. Just your name and suburb and away you go.
Diana Homsony from Karrinyup. Mayor, I'd just like to ask the question. In 2020, I'd just also like to say that I am representing the Clement Drive Action Group, so the residents of Clement Drive. In 2021, the JDAP map plans identified Clement Drive as a possible road that may become a rat run to the Karrinyup Shopping Centre and its development. I can say now in 2025 that actually has happened. As a local road, we should only be carrying 6,000 cars a day. Clement Drive now carries over 9,000 cars a day. My question is, Mayor, if this was identified as something that could happen in 2021, why is it now 2025 and nothing has happened? The council has taken no action. It's had a terribly negative impact on the residents of Clement Drive. Most of us, and can I just say that the bulk of the residents of Clement Drive have been there for over 20 years. Some have lived there all their lives. So they're elderly. We have a large elderly population. We cannot back out of our driveways. There's hazards. We have a school. We have two schools. We have kids going to Kareen that use it as an artery, and kids going to Karrinyup Primary School that have to cross it every day. And in peak hour, it is a nightmare. It has become a terrible situation. And we'd just like to know, what is the council going to do about it? We do know that Councillor Kresovich has passed a motion, but why is it 2025 and it's got this bad that something hopefully is going to get done?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Look, it's well known that this council, one of the primary reasons for opposing that current development at the time that was approved by JDAP was that the infrastructure wasn't mature enough to cope with the extra traffic flow. It's always been one of our biggest concerns, is that to have a regional centre and see that sort of growth without the infrastructure improvements around it, whilst your road is certainly probably more than a rat run, is one of the main thoroughfares. There's not many
It's
ways.
become a major artery.
Yeah, there's not many ways out of there. But, most of those streets are also experiencing similar things. It has increased over that time. The city hadn't planned for it. There was no planning framework that said that was going to be that sort of centre that needed those upgrades. And there hasn't been a lot of support in even the infrastructure or the public transport down Karrinyup Road. There is currently, all I can give you a comfort is there currently is a motion, and there will be a transparent report that comes to this council identifying those issues on Clement Drive and hopefully give you some relief in
Clement Drive
future
has
mitigations.
6 roundabouts, 2 chicanes. It's on a hill, so the cars are either accelerating, and I'm at the roundabout of Dwyer Street, and it is a very tight roundabout, and all day long trucks clinking and clanking because they just go over the roundabout, not around it because it's too tight. The road is not conducive with its current structure to take 9,000 cars a day. So I think something definitely needs to be done. Clement Drive is under your jurisdiction.
Yes.
It is a local road, so it is. I know it may not have been foreseen, but now something needs to be done and the council needs to do something about it.
Well, I appreciate your comments, and it will be before this council. Patricia Shuttler.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
My question is council aware that the Coastal Hazard Risk Management and Adaptation Planning Report adopted in 2023 identifies coastal assets at risk over the next 100 years, including buildings, roads, car parks, cafes, etc., and that erosion is primary coastal hazard is a primary coastal hazard, including at South Tree Beach, A-class reserve, and that avoidance is the preferred management option in undeveloped coastal land. So
Yes.
I didn't read that very well, sorry.
Oh, no, that was fine. It was clear.
I've got a sweetie in my mouth.
That's right. Half your luck. Natalie Conroy. Is there a Natalie Conroy here? Chaz Paredes is gone. Les Lindsay. Roxanne Lambie.
Hello.
Hello, Roxanne.
I haven't registered to do anything.
Okay.
Apart from vote, which I have done.
Thank you for participating. Reece Barrett. Reece might have gone. Reece was at the front before. Okay. I've got, where are we? Is there Margaret Bond? Yes.
Hi, I'm Margaret Bond from Scarborough. Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
The ratepayers and residents of the City of Stirling want to enjoy the beaches, restaurants...
Sorry to interrupt. Councillors, please. I can't hear.
Are you asleep? Okay, sorry, guys.
Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, that's all good. Where was I? We want to enjoy the cafes and the retail in Scarborough Trigg Beach Precinct. There is a parking crisis in all Scarborough and Trigg car parks and surrounding streets. Thursday night markets, Saturday and Sunday music and dancing events, Sunday surf club at Trigg and Scarborough all add to the congestion in this area. The lack of parking affects local businesses. I realise the focus is building a boardwalk as a tourist attraction, bringing an influx of tourists, visitors to our beautiful coastline. This will only exacerbate the present parking situation. My question, what solution does Council have to mitigate the present parking crisis now?
And the parking crisis in Scarborough?
And Trigg and South Trigg and all the surrounding streets.
Thank you. The parking crisis is obviously a parking crisis on those extremely busy days. There's never going to be enough parking in any major destination on those days when you have 10,000 people. You know, Optus Stadium's a good example of that. The council's always been very much pro in improving public transport and connectivity, and that's why projects such as the trackless tram have been pursued. Currently, the local member has a proposal on for a cat bus to be able to ship people in and out in a more productive way. The council has also invested in wayfinding throughout those car parks to try to make it easier so people know not to go into those areas, and we're investigating other areas to put public car parking in.
Right, okay. Look, 500,000 was allocated to the boardwalk feasibility study. Surely if extra parking requirements would have been investigated for the boardwalk planning and design to proceed. You know, what is the council's solution to the parking crisis before proceeding with the boardwalk?
Yeah, thank you. Look, I've just provided you that answer.
Look, I would like to raise a motion.
Yes.
Okay. As part of the recent boardwalk feasibility study, I call upon the council to request that the city engages an independent parking specialist to assess and report on the current parking situation at Scarborough and Trigg during events such as sunset markets, including an investigation of the number of cars overflowing into surrounding residential streets. Then, forecast the impact that the proposed boardwalk will have on the baseline parking situation through the anticipated increased visitation of local, national and international tourists. This report is to be shared with the ratepayers.
Yeah, thank you for that motion. Can I get a seconder for that motion? Just call out your name, please, just at the front. Mike Masiello, and can I have a show of hands in support? Thank you. And a show of hands against? Thank you. That motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Philip Smith.
Philip Smith, West Coast Highway, Scarborough. Good evening, Mayor and councillors, ratepayers. I have a question in relation to the Scarborough Trigg Coastal Boardwalk. The question is, Mr Mayor, that I've been advised by people close to council that there are preliminary drawings, or at the very least a concept drawing, and some costing estimated at $10 million for the proposed boardwalk. Mr Mayor, is this the case? And if so, you could put a lot of people at ease, or not, if we could have some full disclosure on this issue.
Thank you for that question. You know everything I know. What is on the website is all I have seen. There is no other drawings.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rosemary George, Waterman's Bay. Is Rosemary here? So I'm just trying to make sure what I've crossed out. I haven't missed people. Lisa Thompson from Trigg. Yeah, you got to clap before you even said anything.
Yeah, that's scary, isn't it? Good evening, everyone, Mr Mayor, councillors, staff, and electors. Thank you for all coming. Hey, this is not a populist vote and should never be one. This is about being strong enough as a mayor and as a council to look after that beautiful area that's a Class A reserve. Anyway, that was my thing, but jeepers, I needed to say that. Erosion is now here and now. I'm very concerned that the projected erosion bill for the next 15 years, managing just Mettams and Watermans, is near $15 million. How much is the considerable erosion cost of a 1K going to be once you've destabilised the mobile dual system with a destructive boardwalk that all the experts say you shouldn't build on, considering this will only exacerbate the wind erosion around pylons, causing massive shifts of sand and further destroying what you are supposed to protect? How are you going to control this? And isn't this a further waste of our money when we're dealing with there's a cost of living crisis, and that's going to keep going? Apart from that, my motion for the next one is, can the council please remove the completely unrealistic artist rendering of the proposed boardwalk from their website? Would you like to vote on that one?
So your motion is to remove
the completely unrealistic, completely vegetated, because it will never be like that. It's not like it now, and no, we haven't been looking after it. It is a climatic change, and we're not getting that.
Sure, so you want the drawings taken off the website?
Absolutely.
Okay, can I have a seconder for that motion? Thomas Cameron? Thank you. And a show of hands, you want the drawings taken off? Thank you. And against, that motion is carried.
Great, thank you. My other motion is that can the council, and I'll request that the city lobbies the Road Safety Commission to install a fixed speed camera on the northbound traffic on West Coast Highway adjacent to the South Trigg Beach Reserve to improve pedestrian safety.
Thank you. A seconder for that motion? It's clear. Yeah, does someone call out a name? Robin Murphy? Thank you. And a show of hands in support?
Thank you, guys.
And
have a great night.
I'll just finish, just against. Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Roland Hadley, Woodlands.
Good evening, Roland Hadley, as you say, Woodlands. I have a couple of motions here, which I'd like to start with. I propose a motion of no confidence in Mayor Irwin's lack of community engagement and non-disclosure of information. A submission was sent to the federal government seeking financial support for his trackless tram project. Ratepayers were not privy to this submission. If a response has been received, what was the outcome? Part A.
Thank you. I will rule that out of order. Your next question.
Why would you rule it out of order?
You have an opportunity at any election to put your no confidence in me. There is no substance to that motion. Your next question or motion, sir?
I am continuing on that same line. This mayor has failed to contact the state government to determine whether any construction can be built in an A-class reserve. Failed to advise essential government agencies, such as the Department of Biodiversity and Conservation, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of Water and Environment, etc., etc. We're still, Mark Irwin, Mayor, Sheriff of Scarborough, as he now is called, has failed to contact all the ratepayers to see if a multi-million boardwalk is warranted or wanted in the first place. Appalling negligence and seemingly allowed to by disinterested mute councillors.
Thank you. Have you got anything to add, Mr. Hadley?
I'll go to my second motion, if I may, or unless you want to vote this as a motion.
I haven't heard a motion. If you'd like to put a coherent motion to us.
I propose a motion of no confidence in Mayor Irwin's lack of community engagement and non-disclosure of information.
Thank you. I'll rule that out of order. There's no substance to that at all.
Really, thank you. My second motion, a vote of no confidence in Mayor Irwin's total lack of accountability and transparency in spending ratepayers' money, is critical to this council. He issues statements to the media without prior consultation with ratepayers. He states no public funds were spent in relation to his trackless tram project. Yet, $27,000 was spent on trips to China, over $10,000 spent on producing trackless tram videos, $20,000 spent on flights, accommodation to Canberra to lobby for his trackless tram, $1,260 for specially printed hats promoting his tram, which I'm sure contravenes local government regulations, and heaven knows what else. We learned through the media that $700,000 was allocated for Perth Glory to acquire a part of Mirrabooka Reserve. How does Mayor Irwin arrive at precisely $700,000 for Perth Glory, $500,000 for environmental study, $400,000 for Shire boundary markers, $350,000 for Christmas lights, $90,000 to illuminate a clock tower? We request that a report to Council is made detailing how all these projects move to funding, approval and budgeting stage without prior consultation of affected ratepayers.
Thank you. And you don't need a motion for that. It happens already. I'm almost, I'm not going to say it, but I'm impressed that you think I do all that on my own. But we have an incredible CEO and executive team who do all that work behind the scenes, and then council makes a combined decision to approve things through a budget process. It's as simple as that. I certainly don't do the work on all those things. We have a CEO and executive team who do all of that work and provide transparent reporting to this council who makes collective decisions. It's under the Act. It's defined clearly under the Act.
Thank you. Can I just continue with a question?
Yes.
Separate one altogether. On behalf of many ratepayers, that Mayor Mark Irwin I'll repeat that. On behalf of many ratepayers, we hope that Mayor Mark Irwin apologises to Councillor Ray, as she was found not guilty by the State Administration Tribunal of charges against her of being a bully and a racist. These charges were quick to be highlighted and publicised by Mark Irwin. We also ask how many charges have been brought against Councillor Ray since he was nominated and appointed as Mayor of this council.
Thank you for that question. It's simple. I have nothing to apologise for. I've never accused Councillor Ree of any of those things.
Thank you.
I would also like to say that I have brought 0 charges against Councillor Ree in the time I've been Mayor, so I don't know what you're talking about. It's a matter of public record. That's all I have on my list. Now, I know there may be some other people, so if you raise your hand if you have a question, yeah, and come forward, sir.
I've got loads of questions here. Harley Diamond, Karen Up. I'm just going to ask one though.
Sure.
Why does council think another environmental study is needed for a coastal boardwalk when city officers reported in 2022 that there have not been any significant changes to the topography of the dune system since the 2 previous proposals were investigated in 2005 and 2013?
Thank you. So currently there's been a preliminary assessment that has said it can proceed. The council will look at specific designs and then get them assessed, and that hasn't been done previously.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to need your assistance if you'd like to raise your hand if you have a question. There be no further. I do thank you all for your patience tonight. I know it's an emotional topic, and I don't mean that in any negative way. I know that people have strong feelings either for or against this, so I appreciate your respect of each other and your patience in getting through tonight. I would like to now move at 21:16 to closure of the meeting and advise that the minutes from tonight's EGM will be finalised as soon as possible and made available on the city's website. The EGM minutes may, including any motions that were carried tonight, will be presented for consideration at the council meeting to be held on Tuesday 13th of May. Thank you for your attendance again, and for those who've watched at home this evening, and to those who'll re-watch this several times, I'm sure, I declare the electors meeting closed. Thank you again for your attendance. Appreciate your attendance tonight.